And greetings, happy Monday. We are back. Forgot how the mic works. Forgot to pull my microphone back. You can tell we're a little bit rusty. Steve Deace here, back from Disney World. What a long, strange trip it has been. Todd Erzin is here, as well as Aaron McIntyre. And all of you, let us know what you think about what we think. Steve@stevedeace.com is how you can email us. Like us on Facebook. More on that in a moment. Follow us on Twitter at Steve Deace Show. Check out our Parler page as well at Steve Deace. And we just started a new MeWe page. Just look up Steve Deace there on MeWe. That's all you have to do. In fact, our new MeWe page is going to take center stage next hour. What is MeWe? It's apparently the Parler of Facebook.
It's really slick too.
It is.
It is
actually.
honestly really slick.
When I set everything up over the weekend, I was more impressed with its initial rollout than I thought I was going to be. So it is the Parler of Facebook, and it's where we're going to be spending more time in the near future, and I'll explain why here in a few minutes. But our Monday Town Hall, for the first time, our MeWe followers are going to take center stage with an Ask Me Anything for our Monday Town Hall. That's coming up in the next hour of the show. Also coming up, my new book, A Nefarious Carol, releases on December the 15th. Now, here's a little hint. I got word from Amazon that the Audible version, the audio version from Audible, released yesterday. It's already a certified #1 bestseller at Amazon, so thank you very much for that. I did the read along with my oldest daughter. She plays the female lead in the audio version. You can go on Amazon.com right now and not just pre-order the hardcover, but if you really want to make sure my kids get a good Christmas, because trust me, I blew all their Christmas money at Disney last week. You can also now get the audio version. It is out a full 2 weeks early today, courtesy of Audible, the audio version of my new book, A Nefarious Carol, the sequel to A Nefarious Plot. Speaking of a nefarious plot, that movie is going to be turned into, or that book will be turned into a movie next year. Over the weekend, I had a chance to read the first 20 or so pages of the script. It's really good. Really good. You can tell that it is because I'm saying something. If I read it and it wasn't, I just wouldn't say anything, and I'd be talking to them instead. All right. But it's really, really good. It is off to one heck of a start. All right. So, but get the sequel book, A Nefarious Carol. It comes out on December the 15th at bookstores everywhere. Pre-order it now at Amazon. The audio version is out right now. Hey, have you noticed your hair isn't looking as full as it used to? Yes, losing your hair is no fun. So let's talk about options, shall we? You could go to the doctor for a hair loss treatment prescription, then visit the pharmacy and try not to go broke as you're trying not to go bald, or you can try Keeps from the comfort of your own home, where you're going to get the same doctor-recommended, FDA-approved hair loss treatment, but Keeps offers the generic versions for about half the cost. And one more thing you're going to love about Keeps is that it's all online. You just answer a few questions, snap a few pics of your hair, and a licensed doctor will review your info, recommend the right hair loss treatment for you, and then it is shipped directly to your door. And then we throw in one more incentive too. So you get the generic version, so big savings off the top, and then the convenience factor with Keeps. But how about one more big discount as well? Half off your first order when you go to keeps.com/grow. That's KEEPS for keeps.com/grow. So to open up the show here today, I thought that I would just get everybody caught up. And this is the first time I have seen Todd and Aaron that we've even had a chance to talk since I got back. I got back Friday, and of course, it's always a huge ordeal to get back, unpack, put things back where they are, get caught up on things. Saturday, I decided, you got to have that day of vacation after a vacation like that. And so I took Saturday off as much as I could and just, tried to chill and watch as much football as I could. Yesterday, in and around our traditional family movie night, and man, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights is still laugh out loud funny, by the way. I haven't watched it in several years. But in and around family movie night and other things, spent a lot of time Sunday and then also today. That's why I actually was a little late coming in here. later than I normally am. On the phone, working as many sources as I could, trying to get a grasp on what has gone down while we were away. And we're going to get Aaron's take on that here at the bottom of the hour. But I wanted to take this opening segment and just kind of get myself caught up, and you and I in the audience caught up together, and Todd, Aaron, and I caught up together as well. I had two epiphanies while I was gone. One, while at Disney, and there are stresses when it's 2 adults and 3 teenagers together for that long period of time. And I think Monday we walked 13 miles. I kept track. Tuesday we walked 12 miles. Thursday we did 10. You can't do the park hopper anymore. Although apparently they just lifted that restriction the day that we were leaving. That's where you could just visit any park you want as many times if you buy that during a day. When we signed up, you had to do 1 park a day. And when we last went 10 years ago, the whole Disney Springs shopping experience wasn't nearly what it is today. And now I've got a wife and 2 teenage daughters, and I just thought, they're going to do a whole bunch of kind of traditional dude rides and stuff, Let's give them a shopping day. So I told them, hey, we're going to have one day where we're going shopping in Disney Springs. But that meant 1 park had to go because we couldn't park hop. And so we didn't get to Animal Kingdom. That was the one we voted as a family, and that got the fewest votes of the one everybody wanted to go to. So we spent Monday at Magic Kingdom, which is my favorite. Tuesday, because I went to Disneyland and Disney World so many times as a kid, and that's what the Magic Kingdom is, what it originally was before it blew up and expanded. Tuesday, we did Epcot. Wednesday was our shopping day, and then Thursday we went to Hollywood Studios, and that's where Galaxy's Edge is, and wow. That just will blow you away. That was incredible. And in between there, you have the blow-ups where you get short-tempered with each other, particularly Monday. Disney claimed that they had 50% capacity. There was not 50% capacity at the Magic Kingdom on Monday. I can promise you that. That place was packed. And then they're trying to figure out social distancing with that many people. And some of what they did made sense, and then others did not. Like, I don't get getting rid of the fast pass. That's where you can pay more and stand in a separate line that's shorter, or get a call number to not have to stand in line. It would seem if you want to stop people from conglomerating, you'd have options like that on the table, right? Instead, they took all that away, which meant we're all now standing together in these lines for a long period of time, which social distancing just did not happen. Masks were a nuisance. Really only Monday, because that was the only day it was in the 80s. The rest of the week it was actually very nice in the low to mid 70s. So it was really more of a pest. Me personally, I'd trade the fast pass for having to wear a mask even outside, no matter how hot it is. That's how much of a difference the fast pass made. But as the years go by, and already it's been a week now, almost, since we got there, and the little grievances and stuff when you guys get on each other's nerves or grading each other, you don't even remember that stuff. You just remember the good stuff. And already I can only just remember the good stuff and the good memories. And it may be the last time we ever get a chance to do that as a family. My oldest is going to be 20 in February. She's looking to move out soon. She's got a good job. She gets paid well, manages a store in the mall, and is ready to be independent, manage her own life. And so that's one of the reasons we decided to go ahead and do it this year, even with all this going on, because we weren't sure in the future that this might be our last chance with everybody still at home that we could make this happen. And when you're there, unless you go out of your way to know what's going on in the world around you, you're oblivious to all of this. It is its own world. It's a Magic Kingdom, after all. And there were 2 epiphanies I had during that experience. One was, let me start with the good one first. The good one is every opportunity you have to do things like this with loved ones, there are going to be plenty of things that are going to get ruined, are being ruined, are ruinable, given where we're at as a culture and where we are bound and determined, it seems, to go. When you have these kinds of moments, and if it's not, it doesn't have to be Disney, whatever it is for you, when you have the moments to get away from this and enjoy even in its current state of erosion, the freedoms that we have, the prosperity that we have, even in its current state of erosion, and we are watching it right now erode in real time. Take full advantage of it. Enjoy it. Don't let this become all-consuming. If you have things, hunting trips, whatever your thing is, shopping trips, whatever, amusement parks, but if you have those moments, I would urge you to take full advantage of them. And don't be eager to bring the culture war to those areas. It will likely just show up on its own anyway. I mean, I was shocked at some of the things I saw at Disney. We went to the American history presentation. I think I even posted about this that day. I couldn't believe what I saw. I mean, now this was standard American history until about 10, 20 years ago. Now it's forgotten. But it was honest. I couldn't believe how honest it was, even about the pilgrims and religious freedom and everything. I was shocked. There were other things there that I was surprised still called back to tradition and heritage, more so than I expected, frankly. I mean, I'd never done Spaceship Earth before, so my wife finally got me to go on. I didn't want to do it because I was afraid it was going to annoy me, and it did for the exact reasons that it annoyed me. It's a hollow telling of human history. And so even at Disney, you see the conflict that is raging. But at least our viewpoint is represented. I mean, first thing you hear when you walked into Magic Kingdom, I hear "Joy to the World, Hark the Herald Angels Sing," traditional Christmas carols blaring throughout Disney World all week long. We're going to have plenty of enemies. We already have plenty of enemies. We don't need to be the Ebenezer Scrooge of this tale. There is going to be plenty of opportunities for every one of us to show how much we don't want to live together as a people anymore. Don't be eager to take that fight with you wherever you go. You don't have to. It's going to show up eventually. So when you get to a place where you don't have to, where you get to just be a dad or a mom or a kid or a husband and a wife, let me encourage you to take full advantage of that. Because I don't know how many of those areas we're going to have left, given what I'm about to say next. So I wanted to say that first. Getting on the plane Friday and now trying to get myself recalibrated to come back home. And I'm kind of aware of what's going on, but I'm really not. I mean, I'm probably still, because the way my mind works, I can't just completely unplug from like anything because I need it to, my mind needs to be occupied constantly. But from the standard that I typically am plugged in by, I'm way unplugged. I'm still probably more unplugged than the average person on a vacation, but from the standard that I'm typically plugged in, I'm way unplugged. And so Friday and little by little, I knew I was going to take Saturday off just to have some me time in the man cave, watching football, chilling out. So Friday, you're on a plane for a few hours. I'm trying to get a few hour layover, trying to get replugged back in, little by little. Yesterday, spent a lot more time doing it, all up early this morning doing it again. And I don't know what happened while I was gone. I was gone barely a week. Not even a week. Left on Sunday, got back on Friday. And when you do this full time for a living as I do, and you're plugged into watching this happen all the time, I don't think maybe we appreciate on our show, gentlemen, the rate of deceleration that is occurring. unplug for a week, semi-unplug for a week, and then come back, and your mouth will just be agape. Mine was. I'm gone barely a week, and suddenly Brian Kemp goes from governor of the year to a eunuch down in Georgia. I'm gone for barely a week. My own governor apparently went down to the shaman at the local village and consulted the witch doctor. Makes you feel like I can't leave. I have to watch, you have to just watch everything constantly. Like you can't take a break. Everything has to be babysat. And then this whole thing with I can't wrap my mind on what is going on with the election challenges. I don't know. I'm pretty smart. I can't figure it out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I know this, anytime Rudy Giuliani gets involved, it gets ruined every time. I can't think of anything politically good he has done in 20 years. That's one. But two, I have a hard time believing that Sidney Powell decided, hey, I just won the most improbable legal battle on the right, maybe ever. The exoneration of Michael Flynn. I mean, for 3 years, I thought that thing was a flat out political grift. I even said it here on the show how many times I thought it was. Then we do the discovery process and we catch the system screwing this guy red-handed, and you're like, oh. So now I guess I'm being led to believe that after winning that battle, when people like me told her this is not winnable or it's some kind of political grift, and then she won it, she then decided to parlay that into wild, baseless conspiracy theories that probably leave her open to disbarment permanently if she's a fraud, not to mention the defamation lawsuits coming her way that will bankrupt her. Or she's gone certifiably insane in real time, or she's telling the truth. Those are pretty much the three options on the table at the moment, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So before I dunk on her, woman already proved me wrong once. I don't know her, by the way. I interviewed her once. That was 6 years ago, before you guys worked here. I don't know her at all, other than that. But before I dunk on her and dismiss her, I did that once, and she proved me wrong. So I'm going to be kind of hesitant to let her prove me wrong again. That being said, when I left here, it seemed like the case for election fraud was on at least solid enough legal ground to force the Supreme Court to act one way or the other. Meaning, is it legal in the state of Pennsylvania to count ballots that aren't observable or not? What does the state law say? Who makes the state law for elections in these states? Courts or legislatures? Who certifies elections? Legislatures or the media? Is a ballot still countable when it's turned in after the deadline? I mean, these are very definable things in a court of law. Very definable. I don't know that it's about any of those things, though, right now. It kind of seems like it's off the rails. And Sidney Powell, I don't believe, is the problem. She might be wrong here. She might be a grifter. I thought she was for 3 years and got proven wrong. So forgive me if I'm going to give Sidney Powell the benefit of the doubt after she pantsed me once already. I'm going to show some humility and self-awareness that's sorely lacking from many sectors of people with platforms in our culture. Giuliani, though, is a disaster. Everything he puts his hands on, touches, turns to disaster. He preempted the whistleblower on Biden and China with the stupid Hunter Biden laptop that had some damning things on there, but was nowhere near a guy who came out and said, hey, I did business with Joe Biden to grift off of our biggest enemy. That should have been the story, right? Mm-hmm. But Rudy Giuliani had to do his own thing. I mean, he's a disaster. And you know that, which is why he was the media anointed favorite in 2008 to be the GOP nominee and kept having to move his campaign to different states because he couldn't find a place where he could actually win with our base. Most of you know this. But apparently someone in Trump world does not know that and keeps letting him in. He was the debate coach for that disastrous first debate, him and Chris Christie, by the way. That if Trump is certified the loser, helped seal his doom, that first debate. Giuliani had his hands all over that too. So, I mean, this thing is off the rails. I don't know what is true. So I'm just going to kind of be patient and let it all play out a little bit longer. But I had Facebook tell me that I had violated their community standards by sharing the Danish mask study. It finally came out while I was gone. It was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. In fact, if you actually look at the metrics of the Danish mask study, what you'll find is they had slightly more elevated areas of infection among those who wore the masks compared to those who did not. Slightly. And that's kind of the last straw for me. You know, I did something 2 weeks ago on this show I should not have done. I was wrong. I apologize. I let the system, I said, hey, they're banning us on everything. This is how we monetize our show. So I guess we'll have to move this stuff that really matters over to the place where we can go directly to subscribers, right? That was kind of the conversation we had. Yeah, I'm not doing that. That was wrong. And I guess I needed them telling me that publishing a study that showed that masks don't work made me a public menace. I think I just needed that, you know, like that one chick needed the grapefruit to the face from Jimmy Cagney that one time. I needed that. As soon as I got that, I was like, what am I doing? I had this totally backwards. It's the other way around. I'm not changing a damn thing of my show for any of these entities. Nothing. I'll just limit what I post on these entities down to nothing. So, you know, if you follow me on Facebook, you're going to get really generic stuff. You might get my Disney pics. I put some Disney pics up there, like the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that. You'll get links to the show, but I'm not posting any opinions on there anymore. I don't work for the Facebook fact check team. I don't know who the hell these people are. Nor do I work for the Facebook unscience team. F them. I don't work for them. I work for you. I don't work for him. I don't work for them. So, no, I'm not going to just walk in there and ask them to demonetize and ban me. But I mean, I'm just going to post really generic stuff on there. Really generic. And if you want to find out what I really think, you'll get it here or on MeWe or Parler. And a little bit more on Twitter. But I'm not going to change anything we do about the show to placate them. They can all go to hell. And because that's where they're from. So ET phone home. And I was wrong to even contemplate that. It sounded really smart. So the one thing I do have to thank the Facebook fact check, unfact check, and junk science team for is reminding me that even here in Iowa, where we're kind of away from the system and we're not constantly barraged with its influences and things of that nature, even here, we can succumb to the spirit of the age. Thank you for the humbling reminder. And you can all still go to hell. So no, I'm not changing anything here. We're just going to do the same show we always did. To our social media team here at The Blaze, you'll just have to be a little bit more strategic, I guess, about what clips you choose to share, I guess. But I'm not changing anything. So screw them. No. I think we are irreparably broken as a culture. I think, you know, a good friend of mine texted this to me today. We have had one presidential candidate that any of us would want to vote for in the last 36 years now. 32 years. One presidential candidate in the last 32 years win the popular vote. Donald Trump got 80 million votes. I'm sorry, 70 million votes. 70 million. Over 70 million. I mean, if that's not good enough to win, then I think we should at least consider this isn't winnable in the current arena we're in. And that we need to consider some other arenas. We got to do more than just pleasure ourselves to Fox Hub. Just pleasuring ourselves to Fox Hub, vote GOP, and then just magically things will change. No, they won't. We've lost every institution in the country. Every last one. And in many cases, they were just taken without a fight. I'm watching a bunch of people I like and respect, and a bunch of you, frankly, sitting around waiting for courts to act, to tell them what is a lawful ballot and what is not, to tell us when you can reopen your business or when you can't, when you take the face diaper off your kid at school and when you cannot. You want to know what the other side did? They understood what government by the consent of the governed means. They just refused to consent to things they didn't want to be governed with anymore. Just changed it. They understood that action is what changes law. Law doesn't change action. We think the other way around. See, the left understands social action is what changes the law. That we are not a nation of laws, and we never have been. We are a nation of political will, and we always will be. They act. We react. We sit around waiting for a governor to tell us my business can be open again. They just decide, well, we don't care about your marriage definition. And we want to kill our kids, so we're just going to do it. Cool. 5,000, pour one out. They just do it. We wait to act. Steve, I'm stuck in Ohio. I'm stuck in Illinois. They just do stuff. And if we're not willing to do that, we have no chance to win. It really is then revival or bust, meaning heaven has to bail us out. Totally and completely. Like, not in a providential way, like what the founding fathers were talking about when they invoked providence. What did they mean by that word? What they meant was if their motives were right and the cause was just and the crusade was a righteous one, then it would invoke the will of God to give it favor. That's what they meant by that. They didn't mean we just sit here with our thumbs up our anuses, blogging, and then getting banned for what we blogged. That's not what they thought. That's not what it meant. They thought their action would like spur divine favor. That's what providence meant. We kind of just sit around like the disciples. After Jesus ascended, oh, wow, that's really cool. The angel has to come down and say, I thought you guys were given some marching orders, getting some stuff to do. Get going here. Oh, yeah, okay. You're sitting around on Fox Hub, man. Leave me alone, I'm baiting. I'm on Fox Hub. Fox Hub. Laura Ingram's the blonde section. I'm just sitting around on Fox Hub, waiting to tell me which Republicans to vote for. And then maybe my business can open. Maybe. We can't win like that. We're not going to win like that. And that's why this thing is irreparably broken. Because we won't fix it. Whenever you get the chance to do business with somebody who shares your values, make sure you take full advantage of it. That's where Patriot Mobile comes in. It's America's only conservative mobile phone company. They'll never charge you hidden fees, and they share your values. And they won't send your hard-earned money to organizations like Planned Butcherhood or anything like that. But instead, you'll also get the same reliable nationwide service that you get from the big boys, but in support of the country you love and the values that you share. Switching is easy. Keeping your phone, you can do that. You can bring your own phone. You can buy a new phone if you want to do so. And right now, when you join their family of freedom-loving Americans, get free activation plus a free gift with the offer code STEVE. That's free activation plus a free gift with the offer code Steve if you make the switch today. Call them at 972-PATRIOT. Again, that is 972-PATRIOT. Or visit them online at patriotmobile.com/Steve to take advantage of the offer at patriotmobile.com/Steve. So now that I've discussed what I did and what I thought about while I was away, here's Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by Expectations versus Reality. Let's have some updates on the two biggest stories of the year, COVID mania and the election. We'll start with the latter. After almost 2 weeks of gathering sworn affidavits and numerous lawsuits pertaining to the outcome of the presidential election in numerous states, most of which focused on the legality of ballots cast in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, the Trump campaign last week was gripped by a series of new narratives focused on Dominion voting systems, the company who manufactures hardware and software for digital voting, among other things. The Dominion narrative was driven largely by now former Trump campaign attorney Sidney Powell, who in the last week has claimed a globalist conspiracy involving George Soros and the Clinton Foundation, among others, sought to rig this month's election in favor of Joe Biden by switching millions of Trump votes to Biden using Dominion software. Powell repeatedly made this promise.
I'm going to release the Kraken.
It's an allusion to a mythical sea monster popularized by the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Powell also alleged Georgia Governor Brian Kemp accepted bribes from Dominion voting systems, claimed Hillary Clinton used the same election rigging software to defeat Bernie Sanders in the 2016 Democratic presidential primaries, and other things. Earlier in the week, Fox News' Tucker Carlson explained how he reached out to Powell for any evidence of her claims.
There's evidence that a lot of things that responsible people used to dismiss out of hand as ridiculous are in fact real. And we don't care who mocks it. The louder the Yale Political Science Department and the staff of the Atlantic magazine scream, "conspiracy theory," the more interested we tend to be. And we took Sidney Powell seriously. We had no intention of fighting with her. We've always respected her work. We simply wanted to see the details. How could you not want to see them? So we invited Sidney Powell on the show. We would have given her the whole hour. We would have given her the entire week, actually, and listened quietly the whole time at rapt attention. That's a big story. But she never sent us any evidence, despite a lot of requests, polite requests, not a page. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her.
Powell then insisted she would start releasing the evidence this past weekend, which to our knowledge never happened. Yesterday, the Trump campaign distanced itself from Powell, saying she is, quote, practicing law on her own and is no longer on the Trump legal team. So in summary, Sidney Powell promised this. And what we've gotten so far is this.
When life gets you down, you know what you got to do?
I don't want to know what you got to do.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
It's honestly unclear what the status is of the lawsuits the Trump campaign have already brought against the aforementioned states. Georgia has already completed their recount without signature verification and has certified Biden as the supposed winner of the state. That's including the recount, which found thousands of Trump votes hadn't been counted or been misplaced. The two Senate elections there are still headed to a runoff in January. Moving on to COVID mania, we'll start with a reminder that it's lockdown for thee, masks for thee, but not for me. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced last week another round of mitigation measures for his state, and had to subsequently apologize for photos of him not wearing a mask at a dinner party with people from outside his own household.
We're all human. We all fall short sometimes.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy was caught eating dinner with his family, none of whom were wearing masks.
Put your mask on.
You can go yourself. How's that?
New Jersey has entered another round of lockdown mitigation efforts. While we were gone, Minnesota banned all social gatherings punishable by $1,000 fine or up to 90 days in jail. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, who has long been one of the more lenient governors when it comes to lockdown mitigation measures, has banned gatherings of more than 15 people and enacted a curfew on bars and restaurants, in addition to an even stronger mask mandate in the state. Washington Governor Jay Inslee announced another lockdown set of mitigation efforts in his state, including the closure of indoor dining. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says,
the key is to be strong and secure enough to admit your mistakes and admit your shortcomings. Don't get defensive.
Schools are closing once again in vast swaths of the country. Philadelphia and Chicago announced last week another sweeping sets of lockdown mitigation efforts. The CDC has quietly removed its guidance for school reopenings from its website. The guidance encouraged reopening in the fall. A spokesman for the CDC told The Hill, quote, "Some of the prior content was outdated as new scientific information has emerged." The CDC also released a study on mask usage centered in Kansas. The study purportedly found cases of coronavirus doubled in non-mandate counties and slightly declined in mandate counties. Unfortunately, the study compared counties with extremely divergent population densities and picked random arbitrary end dates from months ago. The Danish mask study, the first randomized controlled trial on the efficacy of masks, was finally released in the Annals of Internal Medicine. The study found, surprise, mask usage didn't reduce the infection rate among wearers by more than 50%. In fact, the study actually found a higher incidence of infection amongst those who wore masks. And finally, the following is what has to happen all over the country for this madness to end. A business owner in Buffalo, New York, demanded a health inspector and sheriffs leave his business and come back with a warrant after it was found the business was violating New York's continued draconian virus mitigation rules.
This is private property. This is private property. This is private property. It's private property. Go get a warrant. Listen, man, this is private property. They're not wanted here. Okay, miss, you need to leave.
And that's what happened while we were away.
Aaron's Montage brought to you by our friends over at Simply Safe. You know, there's always a rise in break-ins during the holidays. That's why Simply Safe Home Security is having a huge holiday sale. 30% off any Simply Safe system and a free security camera as well. You know, recently U.S. News & World Report called Simply Safe the best home security of 2020. I agree. We had another home security system. We got to try this one for free originally, and then loved it so much we canceled the other one, and we still pay for Simply Safe out of our own pocket. We think it's a fantastic home security system. So whether you're traveling or staying put for the holidays, we forgot to put the alarm on when we already were on the plane, we're able to get on with the app and do it from, I can't even remember where we were at the time. Check out it's just a fantastic system. It's easy to set up. We were able to do it in 5 minutes or less. That's with me involved, and you know I can't hook up anything. Except for home electronics. I seem to be good at that. Anything other than that, though, not my speed. But this I was able to install. That's how simple Simply Safe is. High quality equipment, great camera footage, simple setup, easy to use app. You won't get locked down or bogged down with a bunch of clauses and contracts either. All right. Simply Safe, SIMPLI, simplysafe.com/truthbombs to take advantage of this offer. 30% off. It expires on Friday. simplysafe.com/truthbombs. All right, let's get to Aaron's Montage, and I occupied the entire opening 30 minutes of the show. So Todd and Aaron, I will defer to you guys on your thoughts on what Aaron just highlighted.
Well, like I said, I was not disconnected from what was going on. I was very much following it, and certainly on Twitter as much as I ever do, and watched quite a bit of Tucker, including the show in question. Listen, how long have I been telling you about listening to crazy voices in your head? And listen, I'm still pro-Kraken. I want the Kraken. If it's there, whatever the Kraken, I'll take the Kraken. But what I don't have is stupid voices in my head. Listen, to argue that at the point they finally came out and had their press conference that we need something more than this is our first salvo, is to think that just wait for the courts. The same, this, Steve already alluded to that, but that's a level of insanity that I don't know what to do with. You've got a very, very narrow window. Look at how long it took to prove Russian collusion. We don't have that time. The election is over with. You have a certain window to get something done before people in this culture start screaming coup. All right? You can't just slow roll this thing. You had to target what you were going to do. You might think that's unfair, but that's what you had to do. And Tucker asked a very reasonable question of a woman who was appearing on other shows and talking about it. If there was a spat between the two, that's unfortunate. But this dog won't hunt at this level just because it's stupid. It does not mean that I don't believe Dominion voting machines may be a giant problem or that Trump may have conceivably won this thing, but you're never going to prove it this way. And if you don't have more game than this, the simple fact of the matter is you deserve to lose. I wish that weren't the case. But you have got to target this thing to be effective. It's an all-in moment, and that comes with a lot of high risk, and there is no sure path to winning this thing. But I don't understand how both the people on this team and the people following on Twitter are willing to simply say, You just have to abandon all common sense and put all your trust in people that, quite frankly, never earned it. Donald Trump never earned all our trust anyways. We just know that those people want to destroy it. And in the last year, I got on board and said, okay, I'll ride with this. But I ain't dumb. And this has just been a lot of dumb so far.
I refrained from commenting on anything Kraken related last week, save for
what is the Kraken thing?
The Kraken thing is a comment that Sidney Powell made last week.
Reference to on Clash of the Titans with releasing the Kraken.
Lou Dobbs releasing the Kraken, and I've got all this evidence that's just going to bring the whole cabal down in one fell swoop. And guys, you've heard the expression or some variation thereof, never assign to malice or conspiracy what can be explained with incompetence. You've heard some version of that. Guys, I would alter it as well. Never assign to conspiracy, to globalist conspiracy, what can be explained with programming. And here's what I mean by that. You don't need, with progressives, you do not need to explain results with George Soros got together with Hillary Clinton and they leveraged some contacts at Dominion. No. Progressives are programmed to cheat. We saw that. We already have the affidavits in all of these states. We've seen ample evidence of this. We've seen at the very least prima facie evidence of cheating in the margins in mass. We've seen that. We don't need a giant globalist conspiracy to explain that. Yet for whatever reason last week, vast swaths on the right were taken with this theory. And hey, if she's got evidence, I want to see it. She said she was going to release some of it this weekend. That never came out. Her credibility there is shaken, if not shot already. You don't need this to be able to win. And guys, a win may not look like Donald Trump being installed or being certified as the next president of the United States. I've maintained ever since the election that the baseline expectation, which is a very achievable goal, is to get this entire case, any of these cases, to the Supreme Court and force them to say, yes, there was widespread voter fraud. That's a win, because then you can leverage your state secretaries of state to never let this happen again. But we're not thinking about that. We want these things to be true. I want them to be true. I want this globalist cabal, if there is one, to come down. But guys, I don't see the evidence of that. And the person who says that she has the evidence has produced none of that whatsoever. And so what we're left with right now is Dory. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Escape. We're ADD right now. We're not keeping on target on any measure whatsoever. And so you're undercutting. You're completely undercutting. And if this is not true, which I'd like to see the evidence, but for right now, the very least of what you're doing is undercutting any legitimate claims, which we already have evidence of voter fraud. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing Donald Trump a disservice. He did it to himself. Let's be. But if you continue to perpetuate this and just want to believe this without any evidence and just blind faith in Sidney Powell, you're doing yourself a great disservice here. And it's just you can't do that. I'm sorry. You just can't do that.
In fairness to Powell, Jenna Ellis pointed out how hard it was to consolidate all of this information.
One of the president's lead attorneys, Jenna Ellis.
Jenna Ellis, agreed. Absolutely right. But regardless of whether it's Powell or anybody else's plan, it's a plan that has to hit pay dirt by around Christmas.
That's the key point.
That's all that matters.
I think that's the point that cannot be driven home enough. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, and I want to say one more thing. I want to say, what is the lower burden of proof? Saying this ballot is illegal, or there is a giant globalist conspiracy? Which has the lower burden of proof, i.e., which has the greater chance of winning something in this short amount of time? It's the former.
Flynn entered the plea agreement under false pretenses on December 1st of 2017. It was this spring or summer, right, when the discovery came out that caught them, the system red-handed trying to frame him, right? Mm-hmm. Almost 3 full years later.
Yeah. We don't have 3.
This is as the guy that wrote like the definitive book on a satanic takedown of America. Do you really need to stretch me very far to believe a digital voting software called, of all things, Dominion?
Yeah.
Of all things, Dominion could be used in order to engage in widespread fraud? No, you wouldn't need to do much to get me to that place.
I'm there.
But to prove it to the system between now and when the Electoral College is going to meet and certify an election, you're talking about something that would take years, months at the best to unravel and explain and prove, likely years. You don't have that. You got weeks. And an entire week was kind of wasted last week, it appears, while I was gone. We'll get to your questions for our town hall when we come back. Stay tuned. And greetings, back with Hour 2, live and on demand here on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Back from vacation. I am Steve Deace. Todd Erz and Aaron McIntyre are here with me as well. Want to warn you, it's a short week with Thanksgiving. We're here today and tomorrow, and then off the rest of the week for the Thanksgiving holiday. You can also let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox. Steve@stevedeace.com is how you can email the program. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook on our new MeWe page, which is the free speech alternative to Facebook. We just started that over the weekend. And our new MeWe followers are going to be taking center stage with this week's town hall. You get to ask the questions this week here in just a few moments. So just look for the Steve Deace page on MeWe. You can also follow me on Parler at Steve Deace. Our Parler account now is approaching 35,000 followers. That thing has really exploded in the last couple of weeks. So happy to see that. And I forgot our YouTube channel. Are we still permitted that? Is it still there?
So far.
All right. YouTube.com/Steve Deace is where you can get samples of this show for free that you can sample yourself and share with others at youtube.com/Steve Deace. Also, if you're a podcast listener, we appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a 5-star review, hitting that subscribe button for us, whichever podcast platform you prefer. Thank you for doing that if you already have. But if you haven't, that helps us to spread the word about the show, helps the show to grow. Thanks to all of you that have done those things. Let's get to our Monday Town Hall, Part 1, brought to you by Tommy John. This is one of the better products we've been introduced to on the show here in the last couple of years. It's so good that I have now, for a 4th time, dipped into my own pocketbook to buy more. Tommy John has a big-time Black Friday sale coming up your way. You can fight the cold with cozy and Tommy John underwear, loungewear, pajamas, and bras. Shop their Black Friday sale now and get the gift of comfort to everyone on your list, including yourself. With Tommy John's men's and women's loungewear, say goodbye to the same old sweatpants. Tommy John loungewear is luxuriously soft and guaranteed to fit perfectly. Plus, if you got a bit of an odd build like me, where I am fit everywhere except for the pot belly, the no fold over guarantee on the underwear thing, that's a big thing. All right, don't underestimate that. All right, so Tommy John has the best pair of underwear you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. It's the best pair of underwear I've ever worn. And right now you can get 20% off for a limited time only. 20% off for a limited time only using TommyJohn.com/Steve. That is store-wide. Anything at the store, anything store-wide right now. TommyJohn.com/Steve. That's where you want to go. Tommy John, just like it sounds. TommyJohn.com/Steve. So let's get to our Monday Town Hall, and we welcome in our new friends over at MeWe. That's the free speech alternative to Facebook. They get to do this week's Town Hall, Ask Me Anything edition. By now, you know the drill. Todd, you select the questions. I have not seen or screened these whatsoever, so you guys are going to ask these questions cold. And Aaron, you are up.
All right, we'll start with David Mark. How was Disney? You already talked about this a little bit, but maybe give us your top 3 attractions there.
Galaxy's Edge is incredible. It is the Star Wars version of the Harry Potter world at Universal, but it's even bigger.
Really?
Yeah, it's bigger. And credit to what Disney did with Rise of the Resistance, and that ride is phenomenal. And once you get inside the waiting area, it takes you a while to figure it out. Everybody is in character. All the workers, they're all in character as first order officers, and they treat you like resistance scum the whole time. And the ride is phenomenal. Even I mean, our oldest daughter was like, I'm going to come back here just to ride that ride. It was phenomenal. The attention to detail. Just if you grew up with Star Wars, man, like most of us did in our age group, you're going to absolutely love it. So Rise of the Resistance would be number 1. The other ride there, Smuggler's Run, where you get to pilot the Millennium Falcon. Sitting there in the pilot's seat with my son in the co-pilot seat next to me in the Millennium Falcon, that was pretty dope. And then 2 of my favorites from my childhood where I just have strong nostalgic ties to them. Space Mountain is one of maybe the first roller coaster I ever remember riding as a child. And then Haunted Mansion. I love that ride. And then for a 5th one, I'll go with Test Track at Epcot, where you test drive the race cars. That's really, really well done. I didn't get a chance to do the Avatar ride because it was in Animal Kingdom. Everybody that has done it raves about it. But if you get a chance, eat at Via Napoli in Epcot, the pizza place there. The pizza, but now I got to warn you though, you won't be able to warm this pizza up. So you want it's like that wood fire oven. So you want to make sure you eat it fresh, and I know it sounds odd, okay?
This isn't pumpkin spice, is it?
No, it's not. I was dubious, all right? But you guys know what prosciutto is?
Yeah.
Like an Italian kind of thinly shaved ham?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. I love it on pizza. But the signature pizza there is a prosciutto and cantaloupe pizza. And I thought, no way. All right. There's no way this is good. But the cantaloupe, if you know anything about prosciutto, it can be a little dry, right? That's one of the reasons why it's sliced, I think, so thin. The cantaloupe gives it just enough zest.
It's kind of like honey ham then.
Yes. Yeah. And it was really, really good. I mean, the look on Noah's face, him and I split one, the first bite that he took. I mean, the look on his face was, wow. I mean, that meal was really good. And then I know Planet Hollywood as a franchise gets bad-mouthed, but the one at Disney Springs has a Kobe beef burger. Dude, that was legit. If you know anything about Kobe beef, that was legit. And their milkshakes there are just, I mean, they're incredible. I mean, they've got like candies coming down the side of the cup that are glued on with frosting. And I mean, the kids ordered these things and they were over the top decadent, the perfect like vacation treat. Like you would not get your kid this dessert at like a real restaurant because you'd be like, nobody needs to eat all that or needs all, but for a vacation kind of thing, it's the perfect kind of vacation dessert, you know? So, we enjoyed it immensely. Yeah. About halfway through you hit a wall where, you know, the teenagers are tired of you and you get tired of them. Then you have your blowout and everybody's fine the rest of the time. Yeah, so yeah, that was great. Yeah.
We just watched a documentary on Disney Plus, The Imagineering Story. I would highly recommend that. Highly recommend it. It just tells the story of how all these rides got thought up and the technology behind them. Really, really cool. Matt Cochran is next. He says, will China ever be held accountable for releasing COVID on the rest of the world? If so, who will lead the effort once Biden is installed?
It's clearly not going to be under a President Biden if there is one. I mean, he's already signaled that he wants friendlier relations with China, which he should. I mean, he's a de facto Chinese agent. So it won't be via them. I think the only accountability that will happen, I mean, who's going to do it in Europe, for example? So I think the only accountability that will occur would have to be like divine. If Joe Biden is sworn in, I think there will be an effort, and you're already seeing it in what he is, or his handlers anyway, are saying, that this is a third term of Barack Obama just with a dementia-rattled figurehead. And they're going to try and reinstate a lot of those policies. The one exception, I don't think they'll renew the Iran deal. I think that there's just been so much progress now.
Why are you even trying to predict anything?
Well, because I
know you used to be good at it.
Because I was asked to. I know. Okay.
It's so hard.
But now there's a story out today that Netanyahu had a meeting with the Sultan or whatever over there in Saudi Arabia. I think we're so far down the road of isolating Iran now that I just don't even think the Susan Rice foreign policy, which is what we're looking at, right? A third term of. I don't even think they could go back and go to that well again. But I think you will see America become... It'll be called a partnership, but a wholly owned subsidiary of China like it was for the couple of decades before Trump became president. I think you will see that reinstituted. I think you'll be gaslighted. References to the virus's original origin and things of that will be scrubbed completely. People will be banned from social media outlets for, I think, resetting that, like you're banned for resetting that men can't become women and women cannot become men. Right. And I think except for places like BlazeTV, most Americans are probably going to get up in it, and if Biden is sworn in, are going to get up in 2022 or 2023 and not remember what a Wuhan even is. That's what I think.
Next up, Joe Seep says, if you believe the statement God is sovereign over everything, does Proverbs 16:33, the lost is cast in the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord, literally mean that God controls the results of chance actions like gambling?
You have to look at what the purpose of the casting of lots was in biblical times. Meaning that they did not cast lots in order to take a chance, but to avoid taking one. Gambling is, by definition, any game of chance. And so therefore, a stock market, a commodities market, a ball game, a horse track, a slot machine, anything where the outcome is not certain or secure, but is a variable, is at that point is a game of chance, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're gambling in those areas, there's a reason why, for example, there's one major casino right now in Las Vegas called Circa that has made sports wagering a centerpiece of its operation. And the rest of them are are downsizing their sports wagering operations at a time when legalization is happening, and you're going to use apps like FanDuel and William Hill and things like that instead. Why? Because the profit margin off of that these books make on sports wagering compared to penny slots, it's not even close. Because they can control how often a machine comes up with a win. They can't control whether or not, for example, they can't control whether or not a star quarterback gets banged up in the middle of a game and can't go back in because of a concussion, and the backup comes in, throws 3 interceptions, and a certain favorite loses. You can't control that. And so you can beat the system at sports wagering if you're really good at it. You can beat the system at stock market trading if you're really good at it. Because there's enough variables there that you can analyze potential outcomes, and then you make the decision, which of these outcomes am I going to go ahead and wager on? I'm not forced to bet to invest on every stock. I'm not forced to bet on every game. See what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You get to choose which ones you think have the least amount of chance. When they cast lots in Bible times, it was to not leave things to chance. It was to specifically know the will of God in an area. So I think the premise is dramatically different. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay. So when we gamble, we are attempting, we're taking a chance. Anything that is any form of speculation. So if you're if you're a real estate broker, frankly, you're not doing anything different than the guy who is a professional sports bettor. It just, society has decided for now that your pursuit has more honor, but substantively, it's not any different. It's learned speculation. It's a speculative outcome. Anytime you put invest money in a speculative outcome, by definition, that is gambling. Anytime. But the casting of lots was different. It was to not take a chance on the outcome. Like when the disciples cast lots didn't they cast lots on the decision to replace Judas, I believe, right? And it was down to, who was down to? Matthias, and I can't remember the other one. But didn't they cast lots in Acts? I believe they did. Okay. That was to know certainty with an outcome. You and I don't have certainty in the outcomes on what we invest in or bet on. We don't. So the premise is different.
Next is Matt Shipman, who asks, if we aren't satisfied that fraud wasn't what stole the election from conservatives, and if the legal process fails, what's the right response after January 20th when Biden is sworn in, especially when he'll have already trampled on the Constitution he'll be pretending to protect?
All right, leave that question up there, if you would, so I can... All right, so what's the right response after... To me, the response is the same than if you thought Joe Biden won legitimately. I don't think the means here changes, actually. The response is when he honors his oath of office, honor him, and when he doesn't, don't. That's it. I think that's the case. If he had won 40 states, if he had won the way the polls were falsely claiming he was going to, or if he won however shady means that we have seen exposed in the past few weeks, I think that's the same. To me, it's the same argument. We have had a lot of conversations this year about Romans 13 because of in the context of COVID tyranny. The governor is not the king. The president is not the king. If you're hermeneutically applying that, that's a flawed hermeneutic. The Constitution of the United States is the supreme civil law of the land, correct?
Yes.
the supreme civil law of the land. The word civil, I'm using that on purpose,
yes.
Right? Okay. So when Paul is talking in Romans 13 about obeying the king, what does the king represent in Paul's hermeneutic? What does the king represent? He is the what? The supreme what? Civil law. The king is the supreme civil law of the land, correct?
Yes.
Do we have a king here?
No.
So then what is the supreme? Let me give you the actual hermeneutical application of Romans 13 to being a 21st century American. When Paul says to honor the king, he does not mean the honor of a person. If he did, he wouldn't have said what he said next, which is give honor to whom honor is given. Because he didn't give Nero the honor that Nero wanted. That's why Nero cut his head off. Nero was the supreme civil law of Rome. Was he the supreme law? Was he?
No.
No. He was the supreme what law? Civil law. When Nero asserted himself above the civil law, which law did Paul obey? The law of laws. The law of laws. That's why Nero cut his head off. In our country, we don't have an aristocracy. We have a de facto one, but that's because we permitted it. We don't have an official one. So Paul didn't write, honor the aristocracy. The king is symbolic of the supreme civil law. In our country, the Constitution is the supreme civil law. So, if the Supreme Court says, the supreme civil law says you can kill your child, even if that's nowhere to be found in the Constitution, should we kill our children then because that's what the supreme civil law says?
Of course not.
Of course not. And we recognize this, which is why we've had a pro-life movement for 45 years, right? Right. The supreme civil law in America, the Constitution, begins with what words? What are the beginning words of that supreme civil law? We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Meaning, when a king gives a decree, it is words unless he does what? Put his name on it, correct? Like a signature, it's just words. It's the fact his name is on it that grants it power of law, right? Force of law, right?
Yes.
The Constitution was written accordingly. But we, the people, we are that signet ring. We're the signature. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union. We consent to this. We decree these things. We ratify these things. When a king issues a decree in Bible times, when Caligula issued a decree in Paul's day, did it have to be ratified by the various provinces of Rome? Did the various provinces of Rome hold votes to decide whether they wanted to affirm that decree from Emperor Caligula or Nero? Did they do that? I meant to say Nero, not Caligula. Did they do that with Emperor Nero? No, because he was the supreme civil law, correct?
Yes.
Is that how our Constitution came to be?
No.
No. Every state had to do what? Ratify it. First state to ratify it, by the way? Delaware. Where Scranton Joe's from. They're the OG colony. First state. First colony to ratify the Constitution of these United States. So the Constitution is in place of the king in our system because the king in Paul's hermeneutic represents the supreme civil law. The Constitution is the supreme civil law in our system. It cannot ratify itself. It cannot enact itself. It cannot amend itself. Those things have to be done with the consent of we, the people. We are the power. Do you want to know when the COVID tyranny will end? It will end one of two ways. Either via rushed vaccines that, like the mark, you will not be able to take part in activities without taking their rushed vaccine, which will be certified as safe by the same FDA that told you after 60 years suddenly hydroxychloroquine wasn't a safe drug. Good luck with that. You will have to take either the most rushed vaccines of all time, take the mark. That'll be one way. The other way, which I prefer, is we just say, we're done with this now, but thank you. We're not doing it anymore. Get up out of your homes everywhere in America. Open your businesses and open your churches. Wear masks if you think they work. They don't, but try it. I mean, it won't make things worse. It just won't help. But if you think that gives you some added extra cover, you think it shows grace to those who are scared, okay. I won't fight the mask debate on those grounds of trying to love your neighbor as you love yourself. I don't agree with you, but I won't fight you. It's the mask holes that treat it again like some other kind of mark. You're the worst of a person if you don't want to wear one, if you're not gleeful about it like me. Those are the mask holes. But if you don't want to just sit around in your home in Illinois and Michigan and all these places, waiting for the rushed vaccine to be foisted upon you as the mark you must take to leave your home, there's only one other path out of this. Unless you have, well, we would have said about 5 governors before I left. Now the number's 2. So unless you're governed by Kristi Noem or Ron DeSantis, everyone in the other 48 states of this union, here's your only way out of this. Refuse to comply. Because you don't have to. You're the power. You are the supreme civil law. That's what a republic, if you can keep it, means. That's what government by the consent of the governed means. You do it. We're not doing this anymore. We're out. Thank you. We pay your salary, we vote for you, and we refuse. But thank you. Your founders would have tarred and feathered, if not hung, Gavin Newsom for what happened last week, what was revealed last week. They might have hung him for it, frankly. No, they wouldn't have hung him, because they would have tarred and feathered his happy ass long before it ever got to this point. Before that hypocrisy was exposed, he'd have been tarred and feathered and shown the way out of town, never to return. Before it even got to that point. Wouldn't have even had his hypocrisy exposed. Even suggesting they had this power would have caused them to act. And harshly. That's it. Those are your only 2 ways out. Unless you have one of these other 2 governors. Maybe Brian Kemp is still good on the COVID stuff. I don't know. I mean, I just watched him lay down in his own state over this election recently, So maybe he's still good. Maybe you can still count him. I don't know. Maybe Kim will follow what she's done in Iowa, which is whenever she's put restrictions, she has put she's one of the few that's actually put a defined expiration date on them. Most don't. And so maybe between now and December 10th, she'll have, gotten back in her right mind. But that's still best case scenario means that's 4. What are the other 46 states going to do? Because politicians don't ever, in all of human history, have never given power away voluntarily. Ever. Once given to politicians, it's always had to be taken away from them and taken back. So take your power back. That's the only other way out. Or remain in your homes and wait for the rushed COVID vaccine mark that will give you permission to leave again. Because those are the only 2 ways out of this now. The only 2 ways out. Mark my words. Those are the only 2 ways out. They're not going to voluntarily give the power back. And with a Biden presidency, notice that we started gaining ground. when the Republicans and Democrats couldn't come together on extending the unemployment benefits, right? That's suddenly when the whole, we got to reopen the schools. Notice the whole conversation changed in July, August, and September when the money ran out, right? Okay. That happened in a Trump presidency. In a Biden presidency, the fake money's never running out. They're going to keep printing it and printing it and printing it and printing it. People just stay home and watch out my balls. Let's do that. We learned this earlier this year. Did we not learn this?
I know.
The timetable of when the country reverted to reopening can specifically be lined up with when they stopped printing the money. That's when reality set in. Well, now you're going to have all these Democrats in charge. Reality, not their thing. What's a gender? Borders, what are they? Money, print it. They're just going to keep printing the fake money. They'll incentivize you to just stay in your homes.
And the Senate we're fighting so hard for now, of course they're going to sign on with almost whatever the Democrats put forward.
They'll fight them on judges, I'll bet you, but on everything else,
you're talking about free money?
On the free money, there's no way Mitch McConnell's shutting the government down over free money. No way in a million years.
No.
Nope. They'll give them all kinds of free money. You bet. So, hey, fight for Purdue and Loeffler in Georgia on judges. They'll stand up to Biden on that.
Yeah, they will.
But on the free money, hell no, they ain't standing up to him on that. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to get out of your homes and say, we're not doing this anymore. Short of that, await the rushed vaccine and hope that the side effects aren't bad. Take your mark. That will be the only other way out of this. More in a moment. So what do millions of Americans and 3 former presidents have in common? Well, they all agree that Boll & Branch sheets are the softest and most comfortable, pure organic cotton sheets on earth. Their cotton is rain-fed, pesticide-free, and carries the highest organic certification. That's why it's so soft, and they work with family-owned mills all over the world to expertly weave every set of Boll & Branch sheets with the highest level of craftsmanship. It's quality you feel from the moment you open the box. I just got mine in. So getting ready to try them for the first time. I'm eager to try these, all right? They also sell them directly to you, which helps them keep the cost low. You can get these excellent sheets starting at just $160, all right? That's a fraction of what you would do if you went to a store with the markup. And you can sleep on them for a month for risk-free. You don't like it, return them. Hey, they didn't live up to the hype. They're pretty confident, though, that you won't. And right now, you're going to get $50 off any sheet at bollandbranch.com with the promo code DEACE. $50 off with the promo code DEACE, my last name, and it's Boll, B-O-L-L, by the way, bollandbranch.com, promo code DEACE. Get $50 off at bollandbranch.com, B-O-L-L, bollandbranch.com, promo code DEACE. Restrictions may apply. You can see bollandbranch.com for details. All right, let's get back to our monthly Ask Me Anything. We welcome in our new MeWe followers on our MeWe page. Just look up Steve Deace there. Aaron.
Up next is Chris Graham, who asks, are there any good movies coming out?
Well, I learned over the vacation that Wonder Woman is coming out on Christmas Day. So that's a prediction I got wrong recently. Warner Brothers has decided to go ahead and put it out in theaters that are open across the country on Christmas Day and then on HBO Max as well, saying, hey, we delay this movie anymore. It's given what they plan to do with the DC universe, we're going to move it. So they kind of have to bite the bullet here. And remember, this movie was supposed to come out last Christmas. And it got delayed because they didn't want it to go up against the rise of Skywalker. And then they moved it to, I think it was June 1, which was the date the first movie came out. Thought that'd be nostalgic. And then it got postponed to October and then now to Christmas. But it is coming out on Christmas Day, Wonder Woman is. So there's that. There were actually a couple of movies I thought looked interesting in theaters right now. I think that Kevin Costner, Diane Lane movie.
Yeah, that does look interesting.
Where they got to go back and rescue their grandson.
Yeah.
I thought that looked kind of interesting. So, yeah, Wonder Woman's coming out Christmas Day. I mean, that would have been high on in a normal year, that'd have been high on our must-see list, right?
Yeah.
So it's especially even more so now. So, yeah, Wonder Woman, there you go.
All right, up next, Raleigh Cook says, are you prepared for the gloating that is coming out of the mainstream media over the numbers that are coming out of Sweden?
So I have been following Sweden's numbers. I don't know why there would be gloating there. I don't understand. I mean, their case and death numbers are way below the rest of the European Union. I've been following this the entire time. I'm well aware of what's going on over there. I'm well aware of the fact that the prime minister has overruled Anders Tegnell and because politics ruins everything, and has decided to institute a shutdown there. So, but the reality is their case and death numbers are still way below the rest of the European Union. It's not even close. So if they are having a second wave there because they didn't achieve the natural herd immunity the first time, then it is, at the very least, they weakened the virus with their previous approach because it is demonstrably less effective against the Swedish population than it was against the rest of the European Union. But I've in my career, I've had people, like, if I've endorsed a politician for office, and because of a position they had at the time or took at the time, and then later on they go back against that position. And the people will come at me and say, well, what do you have to say? I don't have anything to say about it. My name's not so-and-so, right? I'm not the one that went against this. You got to go to that person. So I don't have to answer for what's going on in Sweden at all. They do. They have to ask themselves why they had the best growing economy in all of Europe for this year, and then just decided to abandon that. They need to decide. I don't have to. That doesn't change any of the data we shared about what went on there this entire year at all. If anything, what it reinforces is how political this all is. Because I can absolutely see a Swedish prime minister anxious to be accepted by the political bodies of the world. And he's made them all look bad because he followed his scientists. He listened to them. He made the rest of these countries look bad. So one way, and they're heading into winter there in Sweden. Winters there are brutal. Won't be a lot of people out and about anyway in the next couple of months. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Perfect time if you're the prime minister of Sweden. Perfect time to make your alms and do your make good to the political idols you have, when most of your people will be indoors anyway and not traveling as much anyway because the winters there are brutal. Remember, it was about to be spring when the first lockdown battle happened. So I'm not discouraged by what is going on in Sweden at all. If I was Swedish, I would be, but they have to answer how they could reconcile what they're doing now with the success that they had. I don't have to answer that. Data's on my side. I only care what the data says. I don't give two craps or a masturbate about Sweden. Only it's data. I don't live there. I don't care. I care about data. That's all I care about. What's the truth? And the data still shows they're way ahead of their European neighbors, even as we speak right now. So, okay. I mean, if those people, after getting a year of freedom that no one else in the civilized world had, if they now comply to be locked down, I don't feel any. That's on you. You want that. Like, I don't feel any. There was a video going around while I was gone of a bunch of protesters in New York City demanding the schools reopen. I feel no empathy for them on any level at all. Like, none. Do not be deceived. God will not be mocked. Man will always reap what he sowed. Sow the wind, reap the whirlwind, man. I mean, dude, you all vote for this. You vote for the same people and the same politicians over and over again. You do. So own that poop, man. Own it. Enjoy having those brats that you don't like at home so that you have to stay home from work. Own it. Own the fact you've got to be a pretend parent now. You can't just drop your kids off at the 8-hour daycare. Own it. Enjoy it. You did it. It's what you voted for. You wanted it. I don't feel bad for what's going on in Washington State. I know there's some good people there. Leave. Leave the state. Like Sam Kinison once said about Ethiopians, move where the food is. Leave. Why just stay there? And sometimes you have no choice. Well, I got a sick loved one. Cool. Well, it's my job. There's other jobs. Leave. Move somewhere else. You don't have to do this. Like, I don't know why anybody in Los Angeles County would be angry at Gavin Newsom. You guys gave him a 70% approval rating or something earlier this year. It's what you want. Own it. Embrace it. Marinate in it. You voted for it. I have no empathy at all. None. If anything, I'm enjoying it. And I think I'm getting off on it, frankly. I mean, I like watching people hoisted from their own petards. You invested in this. You voted for it. It's all yours. It's your baby.
Up next, Matt Irvin says, Steve, they're using testing against us. How do we get it to stop? People that tell me they would never test go out and get tested and seemingly use a positive test as a badge of honor or a way to look for sympathy. These are people that literally have the sniffles. I understand that people are getting really sick, but it is so few now that a positive test is being construed as a death sentence. How do we make the testing end?
So there's subtle and not so subtle ways to make it end. Let me give you a not so subtle way. A couple months ago, I got a call from a friend of mine telling me that someone we had been in contact with tested positive and urged me to go out and get tested. I told him I'm never doing that. Unless I show symptoms, no one that doesn't get symptoms needs to be tested. When I went to Disney, now, could it be said that Disney World, since Disney World reopened in June, has Disney World probably consistently been the largest gathering of human beings in America on a daily basis since then?
I can't think of anything that would beat it.
I don't think anything would even come close. It's the George Floyd funeral every day at Disney World, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I have to show a negative test at Disney World to get in? Any other parks?
I hope not.
Nope. You know what I did need to do?
Temperature.
Why would they need to take my temperature?
Because if you've got a fever, you probably have symptoms and are contagious.
Yeah. Because that's pretty much true with every virus. If you called me up and said, Steve, my kids have the flu, should I stay home? I would say, Todd, are you symptomatic? Right?
Right.
No? Then I would tell you, you should expect to see your ass at work. If you called me up and said, Steve, my kids had the flu and now I'm running a fever, what should I do? What would I probably tell you, Todd?
Stay home.
Stay home. Yeah. What is corona? What's the next word?
Virus.
Virus. Is this a super virus? A new biological, immunological, virological classification that we have yet to encounter here on planet Earth?
Apparently.
In reality, no.
In reality, no, it's not.
In propaganda,
so
yes.
There's no. So this friend of mine was like, I said, I'm not doing that. I didn't get mad. Just said, I'm not doing it. I came to work the next day, told you guys, hey, someone I came into contact with recently tested positive. I had no symptoms. I'm not getting tested. If you guys want us to socially distance and stuff around here differently, we're already pretty socially distant as it is. But if you want us to do it even more, I'm happy to do that. You want to stay home? I don't blame you. But I'm not playing the case-demic testing, the test-demic game. I'm not doing that. Because that's the game. I mean, look at the rules. You're better off reporting a positive test than you've been in contact with somebody, because the contact tracing is more prohibitive than the positive test quarantine is. So no, I'm not playing along. So that's one subtle way, is if I'm not showing symptoms, I'm not getting tested. Period. End of sentence. We can all do that. The other way that we can all do that individually with little to no conflict. The other one that does require conflict is, I'm not submitting to this anymore. The conversation we just had. Because now that's the other problem I have with Project Warp Speed, is now we've got more of big business in bed with big government. And I don't care what anybody says. I just don't like the results whenever that happens. I like it when they're at odds with each other and I can play one off each other. I don't like it when they're making out, giving each other hickeys like they're doing right now. But we refuse to comply. We're not doing these anymore. That's it. Thank you. You can't put us all in jail. Can't fire everybody. Eventually, somebody have to show up to work. I mean, how do you think we ended things like bus boycotts and stuff in the past, guys? They just changed the law? No, they didn't. The Montgomery bus boycott was more than 5 years after Brown versus Board of Education. Actually, it was 10 years after that. Brown versus Board of Education undid the precedent of Plessy versus Ferguson. That segregation, separate but equal, was legal. Brown versus Board of Education overrode that Supreme Court precedent. Did every state in the South just say, oh man, Supreme Court ruled segregation's bad. We'll just let all the non-whiteys into our universe. Is that what happened down there?
No.
That's not what happened at all. How do you think things changed? Laws don't change things. We change things, and then the law changes.
It's the exact same point I'm making about the courts and the election. The courts are not just going to magically sort this all out, or if they do, it's going to be in a way that you hate and rules over you. You must define the terms. That is what Steve is talking about. By coming out saying this is exactly the hill we're dying on legally, or by saying under no circumstances will we live under this sort of medical regime. That's it.
Medical regime is a good term.
You have to define the terms of the argument. Go on offense. That book defines what we're supposed to be doing here. There's not new rules for this. It's the same rules.
No, so here's some more rules that you can break as well. If you are sick and tired of overpriced greeting cards that don't say what you really want them to say, and if you've decided, you know what, I want to trigger some people for Christmas, because why not? All right. Thankfully, you've got Patriot Penguin. They're the first and only greeting card company for conservatives, but they've got a bigly sense of humor. Because you know what I always say, if it's vicious, if it's funny, you can be vicious, right?
Yes.
Well, it's going to be funny, so you can be vicious. From birthdays to Christmas, Patriot Penguin has a wide selection of cards that will trigger all of the right people, plus remind the like-minded that you're not drinking the Kool-Aid. All their cards are designed and printed right here in the good old US of A, and they ship free and quick. You got to love that. So go to patriotpenguin.com right now. Save on a 4-card set for $22 with the offer code Steve. That's 4 cards for $22 with the offer code Steve. It expires December 15th. Got to have your order in by then to guarantee arrival before Christmas. At patriotpenguin.com, offer code Steve. That's patriotpenguin.com, offer code Steve. If I could have a final word today, because I think everything you guys are asking and we talked about in the first hour really comes down to one thing. We keep waiting for someone to hand us a deliverance.
Yep.
We're the deliverance, guys. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, can also say, we, the people, in order to comply with subjugation. We can do that too. Just as we can consent that we're going to form. We act like they just held a convention and King George III said, damn, those are some smart arguments. All right, 5,000.
No.
People died. Lots of people died. Brutally. That's not what happened. The idea they're just going to, you know what, that hot damn, Mark in Urbandale, what a great argument. Governor DeWine has now decided, Mark in Columbus, he heard your call on Rush Limbaugh and thought, man, I've just been a dunce this whole time. That's not how this is going to go down. You gave them the power. You will have to take it back. John 3:17.